I'm going to go ahead and pass things over to today's presenter, David Green. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Isabella. Just as a side note, Isabella, I didn't get prompted to share audio on this window, so
Okay.
we'll have to see when it comes up to the actual recorded demo whether or not you can hear it or not.
Yes, and if that's the case, we I think I have a copy of your presentation, and I can maybe try sharing as well if that.
Okay, very
Okay.
good. So thank you everybody for joining today, this morning, or this afternoon, or even depending on where you're calling in from. We're going to talk about how to automate across the legacy and modern systems. And just before we get started, this is typical for any Salesforce related presentation. I'm not a Salesforce employee. I am a customer of Salesforce. Therefore, just keep in mind that anything that I say or the information that I share with you are my views and opinions based on the experiences that I've had with the system. Really, you should do all your fact checking with Salesforce or a affiliated service provider before you make any final decisions on purchasing. With that said, my name is David Green. I am the Senior VP of Information Technology for a manufacturing company based out of Houston, Texas, and we're called Lamons. Lamons is a manufacturing company. We were founded in 1947, so we're not the oldest out there, but we have some history behind us. We are headquartered in Houston, Texas. We were publicly traded back in 2018, 2019, but then we transferred ownership to a private equity firm. And now we're known in the industry as one of the largest privately held bolting, gasket, and hose manufacturing companies in the world. We call all of that together really like sealing solutions because we target like oil and gas, energy, refineries, petrochemical plants. We have about 1,250 employees across 22 locations, predominantly located in North America, with large manufacturing work centers in Mexico and Houston. We also have a footprint in Europe and Southeast Asia. A lot of the orders that we do are made to order and engineered to order. I'm sure you can imagine that when it comes to nuts and bolts and gaskets like what we have shown here on this page, there's almost a infinite amount of size differences and material differences, so we just can't stock it all. So it all for us, for Lamons, the sales journey really started in like 2019, and we didn't have any Salesforce products at the time, but at that point in time, as I said on the previous slide, we had gone from being a publicly traded company to a privately held company, and with our new investors, we had to reinvent our strategic plan. So our strategic plan, really from a high level, what it looked like was over the course of a number of years, a tripling of the company revenue. And we were doing that by organic and inorganic growth. Trying to target new markets. Some of it is just inventing new products. But with that said, along with that comes an increase in sales volume. And being the leader of the company for IT, I quickly started thinking, well, geez, the ERP that we have is not able to scale along with the sales volume. It's just the ERP itself is capable, but the way that it was implemented in 2014, 2015 for us doesn't really there's some challenges with that. Along with that, I was thinking, a third of the orders that Lamons inputs today, or this is back in 2019, they were manually done. And when you think that, let's say on average, I'm doing about 8,000 to 9,000 orders a month. And then with those 8,000 to 9,000 orders, we average about 14 lines per order. It should come of no surprise that with that sheer volume of manually typing in the order, the largest RMA bucket we had was actually order entry error. So we decided to go down the Salesforce journey, and these are some of the products, a lot of the products that we have today. Really, when it started out for us, it wasn't a matter of just buying all these products and then trying to get it in. We kind of did what a lot of other companies do, where we started out with Sales Cloud, we started out with Manufacturing Cloud, and we slowly began to layer in some of these other technologies that we have up on the screen here, focusing on MuleSoft, of course. With MuleSoft, really, it's my selection criteria. I was thinking big. I was thinking, so back to our strategic plan, we're going to be doing some mergers and acquisitions, and there's going to be a whole lot of growth. So I was thinking, well, I needed something that could help with the future, with the acquisition of companies in the future. And our approach was not to rip and replace technology, but really to more integrate them from a data standpoint. I needed something that was scalable, that could grow with Lamons, but then it also needed to have a feature-rich core offering and complement the portfolio that we had at the time. So when I was going down the selection path here, we had already had Salesforce, and I figured, well, let's take a look at MuleSoft because they are owned by Salesforce, and maybe it all integrates real smoothly and cleanly. Um, it ended up I was right. We ended up, getting MuleSoft and a lot of the other products on the previous slide. And last year, after we were showing success with just Sales Cloud in general, we decided to migrate our order management system from our ERP to Salesforce. So think about that. In Salesforce, what we were doing was generating our leads and opportunities. We had CPQ, so we can do our item and bill of material generation. Now, what we were able to do was actually convert that into an order within Salesforce and push that back into our ERP. When we did that, we had MuleSoft facilitating the connectivity of the two systems between my on-premise ERP and the Salesforce.com platform. We also pulled in additional data sets from the ERP that would be really critical when an order is being placed, such as maybe item availability, lead times, stuff like that. We got that done last year, and then it was a matter of, okay, what are we going to do next? And we viewed it from the standpoint of we were building a platform, we were building a foundational platform, and now we need to build upon that platform that we've established. So we figured, hey, since order entry error is our largest RMA bucket, and previous to this time, we didn't know how to address it. Is there any way we can like maybe automate it? So we reached out to our friends at MuleSoft, and we learned about this product that they had called RPA, which is what we're talking about today. Relative to our order entry process, we realized that if we could somehow automate this process, we're going to be saving about 15 to 20% of my inside sales team's time, or the people that are doing the order entry process. So that gives the ability to my inside sales team now to do more upselling or things that are more value added than just keying in a order. So we started down the journey early this year. It was maybe about February of this year to automate the order entry process using MuleSoft RPA. Really, what it looks like for us is taking an email as it comes in with the customer PO attached. The process would strip away that PDF attachment, and it would go through a process of reading the order and actually inputting it into the order management system that we created the previous year in Sightline, or excuse me, in Salesforce. Sightline's our ERP. So with that said, we started off on this project. The project was really three phases: mappings, rule sets, and user acceptance testing. The mapping is, think of it as just any customer purchase order, and you're training the system as to where to find the data, where to find the date, where to find the item that it wants, where to find the quantity that it wants, any other pertinent information that you feel is vital. The second step was the rule sets. So once it captures this data, what object or where within Salesforce do you want it to be placed? And then after that, obviously, comes a user acceptance testing. For us, it was a 5-month project. We decided, because we have a lot of customers, we have like, I think it's around 25 to 2,600 different customers. We decided just to start right now with our top 20 in terms of revenue. And then down below there at the bottom, you can see just the general flow that the process is going to be taking in the future. So next, what I'm going to have to show you is an actual pre-recorded demo. It's about 1.5 minutes long, and it was done up by the professional services company that helped us with setting all this up. So I'm going to go to the next slide, and Isabella, if you can't hear it when I probably about 10 seconds in, if you can't hear it, please let me know and we'll have to adjust.
Will do. Okay, so no sound on my end. So maybe I'll have you stop sharing and then I'll share my screen and we'll be able to hear.
Okay.
This is the beauty of a live session. Let me go ahead and sorry, folks, it takes a couple minutes for the computer to comply. Here we go. All right, let me go ahead and slideshow. And here, oops.
Robotic Process Automation, or RPA, harnesses the power of AI and automation to complete repetitive tasks. RPA-powered workflows are infinitely scalable, and the potential use cases are endless. Let's look at how Lamons will be using RPA and AI for purchase order processing. Historically, processing POs required thousands of hours of manual work every year. With MuleSoft RPA and AI, PO processing will be on autopilot. Here's how it works. Whenever a new order is received, a purpose-built AI model that's trained on Lamons data will scan the email and process any document attachments. Once processed, the order information is sent directly into Salesforce. Relevant users will receive an email when a new order is available for review. A full list of all RPA-generated order details is also available. Here, you'll find the sender's email and document attachment. After a quick check of the order record against the attached order document, we're ready to activate. With MuleSoft RPA and AI working behind the scenes, Lamons will be able to close more deals faster. Plus, people will have more time to focus on solving important business problems, not manual data entry.
Thank you, Isabella.
Mm-hmm.
So with that said, I'm sure as you look at this, you can see that that is just one use case for Lamons. I mean, there's so many other possibilities for Lamons. So like and RPA. So in terms of like what's next for us, right now with the RPA, we did go live with this process actually this week. So over the course of the next couple months, now what we're trying to do is to build out the additional templates for all the remaining customers. And we've done that by, or we're going to accomplish that by training the business users in sales to actually create these templates. It's easy enough to where non-IT folks can do it. Right now, with RPA for order entry for us, when the orders are ingested, they actually have to be reviewed So they have the order that's been ingested up on one screen, and then on the other, they have the actual customer PO. And we're doing that until really RPA trains us, the humans, to be more comfortable with the process. And then in the future, what we're looking at is just automatically ingesting it into our ERP. So then our manufacturing processes could start. Past this, we're currently looking at other RPA projects to where we might be automating the generation or creation of a document that we call MTR, which is a material traceability report. It accompanies a lot of the metal-based products that we provide that to really showcase the chemical and material properties of it. With that said, that's the presentation. I'd like to open it up to any Q&A. If anyone has any questions, feel free to post it in chat.
Cool. We've already got our first question. So as I could see that Salesforce helps with retrieving data in its own system with the help of MuleSoft integration, if they're assuming correctly. Can you please help this person understand the source system which triggers the purchase order via mail?
Right. So giving a little bit more clarity into the process. Lamons leverages Microsoft Office 365, and we have Microsoft Exchange, that is our email server. RPA is actually lifting that email attachment out of those inboxes that the orders are received it from. Hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you. And folks, if you do have additional questions, please feel free to post them in the Q&A tab or in our chat box here. Give us a few seconds to warm up. And for those of you who are just joining us, welcome. We've actually just concluded the presentation portion of today's event, but if you have any questions for David while he's here, now's the perfect time to ask. And of course, this recording will be available post-event, which I will send out to folks who RSVP'd. Cool. I mean, look at that. You did such a thorough job explaining. There's nearly no questions. Let's give folks maybe another additional 20 seconds. Yes. Okay. Thank you. So yeah, you did answer their question. Thank you. Okay, so have you run into any issues with accuracy of data being pulled from the emails?
So the issues that we've run into thus far in terms of accuracy could be it does a really good job at reading the characters in the text field. The problem that we run into is maybe having to fine tune the templates that we created. So imagine if you have a document, a PDF document, and sometimes if the text shifts downward a little bit, it's outside of the field that you've identified the data to be in. So using RPA and IDP from MuleSoft, it's kind of like artificial intelligence where you're training the tool. Once the mistake is identified, you can use the tool to train future receipts of that document from that customer, and it's self-learning. So you show it where the mistake is, and then next time the order is received, if it makes a mistake, it takes that problem into consideration. Eventually, like I'm talking, a month down the line, 2 months, 6 months, a year down the line, we would have gone through so many different problems and scenarios and telling the AI component how to fix itself that it should be fairly autonomous at that point. Good question.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Give folks a few more seconds to get any last minute questions in. Oh, yeah. Okay. Giovanni asks, can you please spend some more time on how the training was of the system that made it better to recognize PO's docs? And then 2, are you planning to move to IDP with Einstein AI?
Gotcha. So, Isabella, if you could go back maybe like 2 to 3 slides, I believe it's the one right before the demo. Yeah, this right here. So the 3 phases to the project was mapping, rule sets, and UAT. With mapping, really what we're doing is, we had targeted our top 20 customers. So with our top 20 customers, what we needed to do was capture 20, 25 purchase orders from each individual customer. And what we're doing is we're taking the first PO from the first customer. We're training the system as to all the fields that we want to ingest into our system and where on the document to find that data. Then from there, we run the second PO through, the third PO through, the fourth, so on and so forth, to where over time we're expecting to see the consistency with the reading of the data that we're wanting. The second phase of the project was, now that we're collecting the data, where in Salesforce do we want to place the data? So really it's just a mapping exercise where, say, the item that's being ordered and the quantity that's being ordered, all we're doing is mapping it to a Salesforce object, which within our order management system that we put in Salesforce last year, where in that order entry form do we want these values to appear? Because we had 20 to 25 purchase orders per customer, it sounds like an awful lot, but it's necessary to ensure that, say you have a customer order that has 1 line on it, but then the very next one has 12 lines on it. You got to have that variability in the customer orders to make sure that all these different scenarios you're covering. With that said, the training process for us and the customers that we onboarded, it wasn't necessarily all that difficult. It's just a process, and it really doesn't take an IT employee to be able to do it. We actually had people from sales that were training our system as to where to capture the pertinent data on the purchase order. And the second part of that question, are we planning on to move IDP with Einstein? At this point, we haven't really thought about that. Right now we're focusing really more on solving other business pain points with RPA, and then maybe going back through and doing some Einstein enablement there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you touched on this a little bit in your last answer, but can you speak to the volume of POs being processed and how many bots are handling the load?
Right. So the volume, right now we're seeing about 50 to 100 a day. We do expect that to probably double or triple as we get more of our customers onboarded.
Mm-hmm. And then, do you have a % rate of success or error in recognizing text?
And unfortunately, that I do not. I was actually involved in I was the executive sponsor for the project, but I was also involved in the testing of it. And as long as we had the document properly aligned with the tool and outlined the field and the parameters of the field, the X and Y coordinates of where to pull that data from the document. With that said, we had 100% success rate with importing the data. Once again, the only problems we had with importing that data was perhaps when the X and the Y coordinates for that field on the document might have been off a little bit.
Cool. And then if you have a purchase order that hasn't successfully been captured into Salesforce due to unforeseen circumstances. For the time being, is there any alternative approach to handle such cases?
Right. So, right, the process that we're following to ingest into Salesforce is we're trying to totally eliminate the manual order entry. So we created a process to where it will ingest it into Salesforce, and then someone has to go in and validate against the purchase order whether or not it's accurate or not before we process it. With that said, if there's a failure, if it fails to read any component of data, I have all the other components that were captured in Salesforce. So say, for example, there's a multi-line order that's being captured, and it totally misses the quantity column. And it all that happens in that case would be the quantities for the items that are being ordered will not be represented in our order management system. And the individual from sales that is reviewing it would have to go and key it in. Along with keying it in, then we go back to the AI model and we say, hey, next time shift that, look a little bit left and look a little bit right in that column, and maybe you'll find that the quantity that you missed out on. So the point I'm trying to make is, if there's an error, it's not a total loss. If there's an error, there's still data that is there for us to look at and review, and then to complete the manual entry.
Perfect. Okay. I think we were able to answer all the questions that came into the chat. So to you, David, thank you so much for leading us through this session. Yeah, wonderful questions, wonderful content. And thank you everybody for joining us this morning, afternoon, or evening. We're so grateful to have you here. Like I mentioned, I will be sending a recording out to those who RSVP'd previously. And of course, if you come up with any questions in the meantime, feel free to reach out to me. Most of you are on our Slack workspace. You can find me there, and I can always forward questions to David, who is very responsive. Again, thank you so much, David, for being here. We really appreciate your time, and everyone else also appreciate you being on the call today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.